Hey everybody, it's Professor Parish, and welcome to week 4 of English 109. Happy Super Bowl Sunday. I hope you all are celebrating, even if you don't watch football, or at least taking the day off and enjoying it. As I'm recording this Sunday, the week 3 assignments from last week are all due by tonight, so please make sure that you get those completed. And I'm going to talk today about week 4. So we're officially about a month into class. And so we're going to do our first writing prep assignment, which I'm going to talk about today, explain the other assignment and the discussion forum. So it shouldn't be too long, but I just want to go over these things that you all are prepared to start week 4 off on a good foot. So I'm going to minimize myself right here. You'll still see me on the page. I'm waving. You'll still see me on the page, but I have the class in the view so I can see everything like you see it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here on the left-hand side to assignments. And then once we open that page up, alright, so as I've said in a few other videos, just to be sure, even though this little box is right here, don't rely on that box. Make sure that when you go to the assignments page that you scroll down, because as you'll notice, once you get here to week 4, there are actually 3 assignments due for week 4. This is our first week we've had 3 assignments due. So if you rely on that gray box at the top of the page, it's only going to show you 2. So I don't want any of you to miss out on that 3rd assignment and those points. So just make sure that you scroll down every week to the appropriate week. And the dates are listed here too, so that should help. I'm just highlighting the dates right here to show you. The dates are always listed for each week, so you know which week we're on. And make sure that you do those assignments accordingly. So our first assignment that's due Friday, Friday the 7th, is going to be the week 4 discussion forum. So I'm going to go ahead and open it out here to the side. The discussion forum for week 4, I'm going to show you what it is, where we're introducing. We talked a little bit about cause and effect last week, but this week is kind of us getting into it. So like week 3, we do have a video to watch. This video is Lindsay Ellis. She is a video essayist. She has her degree in theater and film studies, and I really like her because she's funny, but she's also extremely well educated and serious and can find very fun, interesting things to talk about, just topics you wouldn't think that you could analyze that much. She does a really good job with that. So this video is specifically about the required readings that we do when we're in school. So if you're in high school, I'm sure you have a set of books that you had to read. For me, it was To Kill a Mockingbird, Romeo and Juliet. We read a lot of Shakespeare in high school. And then my senior year, we had a new English teacher, and she taught a lot of medieval literature. So it was a little different than what I did my freshman, sophomore, and junior year of high school. But she talks about this in the video. I'm sure if I say To Kill a Mockingbird, most of you know about that book. Why do high schools choose specific text for us to read while we're in school? What's the pattern behind that? So she talks about that. She does specifically say what these required readings are called. There's a term for it, and if you watch the video, you're going to know about that term. And so that's what I'm asking in this first question here. At the conclusion, what is the cause of this required reading, and what are the effects of it? So we're going to do a little cause and effect play here. And then finally, I want to know what your school did. If you were homeschooled, did you have any required books you had to read for homeschooling? If you went to a public school or a private school, did you have any required readings? I'm just curious to know what your classes did, because I'm sure that we're going to find some similarities, but also a lot of differences as well. And we're going to talk about that in this discussion forum. So as always, the discussion forum posts are due by Friday night at 11:55 p.m. It's our only assignment due on a Friday, and then your peer responses are all due Sunday by 11:55 p.m. as well. So the other 2 assignments are both due Sunday. So there's the grammar review and the writing prep assignment. So grammar review 2, I'm going to open it up here to the side. The grammar prep number 1, people have done fine on. If you've not done grammar 1 review yet, I talked about this a little bit in the week 3 video, but also make sure in your book that you're checking. I've noticed some students have, instead of just putting nouns for the subject and just verbs, or action words for the verbs, they're including adjectives or adverbs. If you're including, like, for example, if a sentence is asking for the subject and the sentence is, the green fly was on a log, you don't include the word green in your answer for subject because green is an adjective. It describes the fly. You just want to put down the fly as your answer, if that makes sense. So just be careful that you're reviewing your answers. It's not a big deal, but it is going to cause you to lose points on this assignment if you're adding extra information that you don't need. So this is grammar review number 2, and it's right here. It's the same setup as the first grammar review we did last week. And I hate that this box pops up. I'm going to get this box out of here. All right, there we go. So you will need to look at page 427 to 430 in your textbook, and it kind of will explain the activity. Basically, questions 1 through 5 on both activity 1 and for activity 1 specifically is going to give you a few details, but it's going to be an incomplete sentence. So what I want you to do for numbers 1 through 5 here in activity 1 is on page 430 to 431, look at the details they give you and take that fragment and make it a complete sentence with a subject, verb, predicate, with a start, middle, and end. All right? And then for activity 4, on page 432 to 434, you're going to rewrite sentences 1 through 5 for activity 4 into one complete sentences. So they're going to give you a bunch of fragments and you're going to put it together and make one complete compound sentence. All right? And then the last part is activity 5 on page 436, and you're going to choose the fragment part and rewrite the sentence using the fragment and following the directions in the book. So the directions may ask you to take that fragment and make it into a question. It may ask you to take that fragment and just make it into a regular sentence. It's going to give you a few little directives to follow. And this is just to help you, this activity is to help you not only to identify sentence fragments, but also to find out what they're missing. Because fragment sentences happen a lot. And I think that in large part it's because of how we talk to one another. We often talk in fragments or in run-on sentences naturally. So when we actually have to go to the text to write it down, it's very easy to fall into a habit of writing in fragments because that just comes naturally to us. So I want in this activity for you to be able to identify why is a sentence a fragment? What is it missing? And then you add that missing part to make it complete, if that makes sense. And our textbook talks about this as well. So that's grammar assignment number 2. We'll go back. All right. And then before we start the writing prep, I do want to note that other than this video, make sure to check out in our English skills textbook, chapters 5 and 10. Chapter 5 is still talking about how we write and how we compose paragraphs and put them together cohesively on page 108 to 138. But chapter 10 specifically is only about, what is it, like 15 pages? It's 212 to 225. All it's doing is explaining cause and effect. So if you watched last week's video and you're still like, I'm not sure what to do with cause and effect, read chapter 10 because it is going to help you out so much in explaining. And you can always email me and ask questions if you're confused still. So the writing prep assignment. This is out of 25 points. So we are going to do this assignment for each paper that we do in this class. And what this is this is for me to show you, for you to show me what your paper topic is, what the purpose of it is, and to kind of outline and show me your points and what the structure of your paper is. And I know a lot of people, outlining is not their favorite thing to do. I'm with you all. When I was in high school, I hated outlining. I just wanted to chuck out a draft in an hour, call it finished, and be done. But once I got into college and started writing longer papers and more complex papers, I realized how valuable an outline is because it not only helps to keep you on track and keep you focused, but if you get stuck writing, it gives you kind of an escape rope. It says, hey, here's where you're supposed to be going with your paper. How about we follow along? And for me as a writer, it helps me to have that outline because then I can always go back and use it to kind of get myself out of a corner if I'm stuck there as a writer. So I went over these cause and effect guidelines last week in the week 3 video, but I want to just pull them up quickly so you can see and get this box out of the way. Chapter 10, like I said, talks about cause and effect. Your writing assignments have to have an introduction paragraph where you explain the purpose of your assignment, what your topic is, and the points or each part that you're going to talk about. Multiple body paragraphs. If there's one thing I don't like, it's a 5-paragraph essay because it's basic. And because more often than not, your paper is going to have more than 5 paragraphs. That's just the nature of writing. I extremely dislike the genre of the 5-paragraph essay, and I want you to get away from it. Don't feel like you have to write a certain amount of paragraphs. However many points you list are how many paragraphs that you at minimum have to have, but you can go beyond that. Don't feel constricted when it comes to the conventions of writing in this class. And obviously you need a conclusion paragraph at the end where you summarize your topic and you add a little bit of resolution at the end of your paper. The paper itself has to be at least 3 pages, double-spaced, full pages, but it can be longer. I've had a lot of students go to 4 or 5 pages really easily, especially if it's a topic they're invested in. But at least 3 full pages, double-spaced. Your topic can be whatever you want, as long as it is appropriate for college, and as long as it relates to the theme of cause and effect, as it's discussed in the textbook. The paper itself is worth 50 points, and it kind of breaks down how I grade them here. For the writing prep, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this right here. So I want to know your introduction. You don't have to write it all out, but I kind of want to know the basics. What are you going to be writing about? What is your thesis? What is your topic of your cause and effect paper? I want to see that here. What are the points you're talking about? So if my cause and effect was on the cause and effects of smoking long term, I could say what my causes are. Why do people smoke long term? And I could say it's because of a nicotine addiction. I can say it's because of stress relief. I can say it's because of this or this, whatever my causes are. And then I can talk about what are my effects. So the effects could be, it's severely damaging to your health. It can damage people's health around you. It's expensive. I can list a lot of other effects of smoking long term. And I can break those down. So what you can do here is, if my point 1 is, okay, here are my causes, then just to show you all, I can even make like a cause number 1 and list it here. And then cause number 2 and list it here, And then down here I could say, what are my effects? And I can do the exact same thing and, just say effect number 1. And your effects and causes don't have to be balanced. When we get to paper 2, which is compare and contrast, we'll talk about that balance. But for this paper, you can have more causes than effects, or vice versa. You can have more effects than causes. The big thing here is I just want you to be aware of the difference between cause and effect. And then most of the time for this first paper, you may not have a third point. You may just have point 1, causes, and explain what all of those are. Point 2, effects, explain what all of those are. And then your conclusion. And that's fine. I am not here to tell you that every paper has to be cookie cutter the same. I would rather you create a paper that works for your topic and how you are as a writer. So for the writing prep, that's what I want to see. I want to see what is your topic, what's the points, what's the overall point of it, and then a simple skeletal framework, an outline of what you're going to talk about in your paper. And that's it. And that's 25 points. So it'll be due by Sunday. But like I said, please make sure that you are scrolling down, you're seeing these assignments. If you've noticed, once you finish the assignment, it will check it off and it'll be finished. The discussion forum sometimes doesn't check off because I've got to grade it on my end, but it should check off once you submit your 2 replies. All right. So hopefully so far everything's been going good with class. I have had students email and ask questions, which I really appreciate, and I've had students come by my office, which I appreciate as well. Like I said in week 1, I travel to high schools throughout the week, so I'm not always at my office throughout the day. Be sure to email me ahead of time or call and say, hey, when are you going to be by? I want to stop by and talk to you. And I'm sure that we can work out a time to meet face to face. Otherwise, if you have a question that can be answered over email, feel free to send it. I'm always happy to answer questions and get back to you about things. So I hope you have all of week 3's assignments turned in. If not, make sure to get them done by tonight. You know, while you're watching Super Bowl and you're seeing all the commercials and you're just sitting on your computer typing out stuff. That's usually what I end up doing. So, but just make sure to get all of your stuff for week 3 turned in. Feel free to go ahead and work on week 4. And speaking of working ahead, if you've noticed on our assignments page, I do like to open things up a week early because I realize that some of you are athletes, some of you are on competitive teams on campus, some of you may have things that you're doing over the weekend planned ahead of time. So I like to open up things a week early to give you a chance to work ahead. So I've noticed that someone's already started working on this week's work, which is awesome. Kudos to you. Feel free to do that as well. If you want to wait for me to turn out this video, totally understand. But if you ever feel obligated or compelled to work ahead, feel free to do so. There's nothing wrong with getting ahead of the game. All right? So, as always, I look forward to reading your work and talking to you all, and I will come back and see you all next week. Have a good weekend.